buzz cut G.I. Joe thing going on. But maybe I just haven't seen AJ Hawk without a cap for a long time.
I could do
either.
that.
That's just silly.
I'm like a unicorn, man. If they heard our conversation before the show, I could tell you how I could live off unicorn blood. Okay, no more Harry Potter references.
Yeah, we had a long Harry Potter talk before this. I honestly am bewildered to the fact that people didn't realize where Harry Potter's set. Go to our Instagram page. We've got a poll about where Harry Potter's set will be going up after the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask because I'm not sure everybody knows, or I'm just a dumbass and I'm the only one who didn't realize. But that could be, and I'm okay with that too. Um, so Frank Reich gone, Josh McCown gone, offensive coordinator gone, and then Tepper comes out yesterday and says, "I have a lot of patience."
Yeah,
dude, you realize
Tepper?
Before he bought the team in the history of the Panthers, there was 3 head coaches. Since he's bought the team, he's fired 3 head coaches, 4 if you count the interim coach after he fired Matt Rule.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he did have a lot of patience with Frank Reich. Maybe 11 games was too long. I'm surprised with all the others because you don't get a chance to build anything. But with Frank Reich, it did feel like it was maybe getting worse, not getting better, and therefore
I was actually going to
defend time to lose your patience.
I was actually going to defend Tepper and say, if you spend that much to go up and get Bryce Young, and you believe Bryce Young is the future, and you do not think these guys are helping Bryce Young, maybe even hurting his development, then absolutely you fire them all.
I think then Tepper has to take some knowledge of the fact that that could be his fault because Frank Reich wasn't the best guy to develop this young quarterback from the start. You knew you would be going up to get the first pick in the draft, or you knew you had Frank Reich when you went up to go get the first pick in the draft as well, and you spent so much. I do think there's an element of giving up DJ Moore, which we said at the time. I was like, well, giving up DJ Moore is a first round pick, and that guy's going to really help your quarterback more than possibly having the first round, like picking somebody else with that first round pick. So I think losing DJ Moore is a big deal in that trade up for Bryce Young. But yeah, they clearly weren't helping Bryce Young. So nothing was going right.
It would be a very bad idea, but I could see Tepper backing a fucking truckload of money up to Bill Belichick at the end of the year.
I'd honestly be surprised if that isn't going through his mind right now.
I think they should. You know who I think they should hire?
Go on.
Bill O'Brien. Look what he did with Deshaun Watson. The best you've ever seen Deshaun Watson was under Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, I think you either hire Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels as a duo, and Josh McDaniels becomes your offensive coordinator, and you try and create New England in Carolina, and people say, "Oh, that hasn't worked. That hasn't worked." And it's like, yeah, but they haven't done it with Bill Belichick. Is the reason that it hasn't worked. Maybe Bill can't do it anymore. But if you're going to do it, then do it with Bill Belichick and then the offensive coordinator that they've had all of this success with, right? But I like Bill O'Brien as a hire because I think Bill O'Brien, the GM, gets a lot of shit, but I actually think he gets maybe too much shit. So what happened is in his final year, shit hit the fan, and he got rid of D-Hop, and he had to get rid of Deshaun Watson because everything was falling off a fucking cliff. But with everything that looked like was going on in Houston at that time, maybe he wasn't doing a terrible job.
And they still have Tunsil, who he traded for. So they have the reason the Texans have a left tackle that's awesome, right, is because of him. And that offense was firing with Bill O'Brien. You know what I mean? So I think he developed Watson more than people give him credit for. And I think he'd be a great hire for Bryce Young because he'd hold him accountable. He's a player's coach who will chew you out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's one of the only times New England coaches have worked, right? With Bill O'Brien. I wouldn't make him the GM and the coach.
No,
Like, just
no.
I wouldn't make him the GM and the coach, but I think he gets a bit too much hate for when he was the GM. But I don't think it's ever a good idea to have a GM and a coach. Like, you should be having somebody to cancel it out. It's like the balances of power like are off. Like, if you give one guy all of the power, they're just gonna sit and abuse that power. There's no checks in place for that power. Absolute power corrupts.
Power corrupt.
Absolutely, that's the
Absolutely.
quote.
There you go.
Yeah. But so if you have somebody else, but the fact that Bill O'Brien has GM experience will help him talking with the GM and will mean they're more on the same page, you would hope, as well. So I'd pick Bill O'Brien for my coach for the Carolina Panthers as well. They're probably going to pick Bill Belichick. I would back up the truckload of money to Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels to come there and do it in Carolina as well.
I have a problem with the Josh McDaniels thing because players don't seem to love him after they play for him. And who has he developed outside of Brady? And he didn't develop Brady because that's Romeo Crennel and fucking back in the – but –
yeah. I mean, the best that Mac Jones has ever looked is when Josh McDaniels was his coach, though, right? Like, so Mac Jones looked like a maybe top 15 quarterback with Josh McDaniels there.
And I think a lot of their problem is they just don't have talent.
Yeah, they have zero talent. Like, Mac Jones is in a really shit position. Because I personally think that Mac Jones is a top 20 quarterback in the league if you give him talent. I think if you swapped Brock Purdy and Mac Jones over, Brock Purdy's better than Mac Jones. I'm not saying that, but I don't think you have a crazy step down.
Dan Orlovsky's getting murdered for saying the same thing this week.
Yeah, I don't think that you get that much of a step down if you put Mac Jones with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense. I just don't.
I told you the other day, I said, if you gave him Kyle Shanahan or Kevin O'Connell, he's Andy Dalton.
Yeah, which is Brock Purdy's probably a little better, but how many points better? Maybe. Right.
He would thrive in a Shanahan offense because it's the running game that makes that whole thing go.
An intelligent guy, drive to win as well. I think a lot of Mac Jones's stuff comes from like he's got this drive to win. He's come from Alabama. He's used to like Nick Saban, and now he's in a team where they're not winning.
Right.
But he's in a team where they're not winning, and the Patriot way seems to admit where you can't admit where you're wrong. Like, that seems to be a big thing about the Patriot way. So then they're not trying to fix the problem of them not winning, which then is Mac Jones being a disrespectful quarterback to Bill Belichick when I don't agree with that.
And we don't know what's really going behind the scenes. You know, people just like to talk and do crazy shit. So I'm not sure how much I buy into. Like, if you're telling me a quarterback pissed off on the sidelines is disrespectful, then every quarterback who's been great has been disrespectful at some point. I've seen Brady and Manning and Rodgers all scream on the sidelines. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, definitely. And so I don't, if I was Matt Jones, I'd be frustrated too. And I also don't think it's a fair assessment of Bill O'Brien, his time in New England this time around, because just no talent, like zero. Your best wide receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, which, I mean, Juju's all right. Like, Juju's okay as long as you have some other components to that, but they don't have any components to that.
Well, let's talk about another quarterback who sucked ass and turned back into a pumpkin. And I've been trying to warn fucking people for fucking 27 days. Josh Dobbs. And I did have to look it up.
Only been a Viking. Has Josh Dobbs only been a Viking for 27 days?
Up until the last game. Yeah, it was 27 days going into the. So I made a comment in our group chat, our fantasy chat, and I did look up the stat, but I said, I don't know what the record is for interceptions in a game, but Josh Dobbs is definitely trying to break it. Well, it is actually 8 from some dude back in the 50s. So, okay, but he threw 4 picks, literally could have been 6 or 7. It was the fucking worst performance, and I have no idea why they didn't bench him in the third quarter.
Who's behind him?
You have Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall ready to go.
Is Jaron Hall fit again?
And Nick Mullins proved last year that when he came in for those like 3 plays for Kirk, he knows the fucking offense. At least he could like hit like 3 stops, get the ball out, move it. Man, that was the worst game. And I don't know if you agree with this either, and you can answer it in whatever order you want. If it wasn't for Justin Fields, they win by fucking 30. Like the Bears win by 30 if they have a halfway decent, competent quarterback in that game.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for Justin Fields, Dobbs would have been benched by the third quarter, because I think the fact that you were still in it and you know that Dobbs can create these plays that go really well, and he has been clutch. Like Dobbs has looked. Actually, no, he's not, because he's not really scored a lot of points in the second quarter. So yeah, not even been clutch. But I don't think when the game's that close, you bench your starting QB. It just
You
out
threw
of
4
like,
interceptions.
you should. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that they don't. Like, that's just not something that is done. The fact that Jaron Hall is waiting there on the sideline, I think if you were doing it for Nick Mullins, I think you get into the space of,
You're
oh, are
doing
we
it just
wanting
to
to
win
go for
that
the
game.
playoffs now?
You can go back to Dobbs the next game and go, look, it just wasn't your night. We did, like, if it's baseball, they're bringing in a new pitcher. It just wasn't your night. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure soccer's the same way. If somebody's not looking right, I'm sure one of those substitutions is going to be used on a guy who would normally play the whole game, and you bring somebody in to try to change it up. You know what I mean? To get some momentum. Every other sport does it. Hockey does it, but some reason in football, you can't do it with the quarterback. I just don't get it. Like if they're a rookie, young quarterback, or if they're in a staff, if it's Tom Brady, you never do that. I don't care how bad Brady is playing. And if it's a rookie, you don't do that to them either. But he's a journeyman. You could have easily said, okay, this isn't your night. We're going to go with somebody else. The job's yours again next Sunday.
Yeah, I guess he's used to sitting on the bench, right? Would be a way to like.
And he's used to coming off the bench. You're not going I don't think you're going to hurt his ego. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to have a pissed off Josh Dobbs in your locker room come the next day.
Yeah, I mean, if what everybody says about Josh Dobbs is true, and what people say about Josh Dobbs and everything, and like he's a great guy, I don't think he's going to be too pissed off about it. It's trying to look for other problems in that game for the Vikings was quite hard. I feel like Josh Dobbs was the problem in that game.
The defense balled out. Now that helps when Justin Fields is the quarterback, but they've been playing good. And we saw why Ivan Pace was such a great free agent, undrafted free agent signing. I'm also going to say I love Jordan Addison, but if he would have tracked that ball better, that would have been a first down with his toe taps. And there's a couple plays that I think Hawkinson could have made, but Josh Dobbs kept throwing it to Hawkinson too late. It was always fucking 2 seconds too late, so the defender was caught back up every time he threw it to him. I went insane during that game.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the Jordan Addison play. I think obviously rookie wide receiver, but you've got to tap your toes in. But Dobbs, the guy is free.
Addison just didn't he didn't know where he was at the moment and on the field. He didn't know exactly where he was, where he should have.
Yeah, but Dobbs, like, Addison is free. He has the entire pitch to himself. He's completely alone in that area. Why are you throwing it anywhere near the touchline? There's just no need for it. There's no need to throw that anywhere near the touchline. But Addison needs to track that ball better. And I think your mum is disagreeing with you on the defense having a good game, right?
At the end of the game, because she texted me at the end of the game, and when we scored the touchdown, and she's like, "Are you happy?" And I said, "Nope, way too much fucking time left on the clock."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fair play to... So Justin Fields was shit for, like, most of the game. I mean, people will cite his stats, and he went 27 of 37, so only 10 incompletions, which isn't horrendous. He had 270 total yards, so 217 yards throwing, 60 yards.
And you'll agree with this.
Yards rushing the ball.
Anybody who's using stats, go back and watch where those throws were. They were behind the line of scrimmage. They were 4 yards out. They were like it.
They
Justin
didn't trust him
Fields
to throw the.
holds the ball longer than anybody in the NFL. Dude, I wasn't even okay. So he holds the ball so
Somehow.
long. I'm like, we're gonna get to him, and then when he goes on the run, he is not looking downfield. When he scrambles, there were so many guys open that Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray or Lamar would have ate that defense up as long as Fields was scrambling. He was not looking downfield. He was just trying to get away from the defender. And there's a huge difference when you're playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think he is helped out with DJ Moore as well. But I think the thing that maybe has saved Justin Fields is, well, maybe the thing that is said to the Bears, oh no, we've got to keep Fields, and they don't with their first overall pick that they're going to have from the Carolina Panthers for Bryce Young. They don't then take a Caleb Williams or a Drake May, because this would be a stupid thing to do. I'm not saying that it's what they should do, but the throw at the end of the game where it's like third and 15, no. It's at the end of the game to drive them down into field goal range, and he has a 25-yard completion on a really nice throw on a 25-yard completion, which was an absolute gimme because the defense blew a coverage somewhere. So it's a total gimme, and every quarterback should be able to make that throw, but no taking away. It was a nice throw, and he did well to look downfield and complete the pass to get them into field goal range to win the game. And I worry now for the Bears that that's the thing that's going to keep Justin Fields there. And I also worry for Justin Fields that that's the thing that's going to keep Justin Fields there, because I'm not a complete, like, throw Justin Fields under the bus, throw him away, terrible quarterback. I think you can put him to certain teams and build an offense around him if you have certain weapons. I don't think he's ever going to take you to a Super Bowl. I don't think he's ever going to go crazy in the playoffs because he can't throw from the pocket. And he can't play from behind. So can't really. But there's certain situations where I think Justin Fields would have a decent season for a team that aren't going to kind of get to the Super Bowl anyway. I worry for the Bears and for Justin Fields that that's going to keep him in Chicago. That one pass of 25 yards to get them down into field goal range, and they'll say, "Oh, when we asked him to do it, when we put him in a position to do it, he did it."
Well, Ryan Poles should be fired if they keep Justin Fields and pass up on another quarterback. But something odd happened this weekend that we have to talk about. So the Steelers decided to use some motion, and they won a game.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, they've been winning games. Let's not say that they haven't been winning games, but the Steelers. Hang on, let me get their stats up here. The Steelers looked like an actual
Pickett
offense.
had 278 yards.
200 for Pickett. That's for the Steelers.
A lot.
That's a lot. I know we're buzzing off them scoring
There's some
bloody
weird
like
stat, like they haven't
16
had.
points.
This is their first game having over 300 yards of offense or some shit like that.
Yeah, I know we're buzzing over them scoring. We're buzzing over them scoring 16 points, right? Let's not go crazy here. But they scored 16
he got
points.
George Pickens involved. He got Pickens involved. Pickett kept going, and that is huge.
Yeah, they use motion. They have a new offensive coordinator, and the offense look good. And it's not like they haven't had the weapons. We know that the Steelers have had the weapons, and we know that Kenny Pickett throws a nice ball. Is Kenny Pickett one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL? 20 is up for debate. 15 out of the question. Like, he's probably in that range of like 17 to down to 25, something like that. With the injuries in the NFL now, he's probably like 16th because of the amount of injuries.
I personally would start Mitch Trubisky over him, but okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Kenny Pickett throws a nice ball, and when you give him good wide receivers and a solid tight end, I do think that Pat Fryer move makes a big difference to their offense. He's a tight end that a lot of people sleep on because people see. Yeah, I know. Sorry, man. I'd already won before Pat Fryer moved. It was already done after the Cowboys Commanders game, man. Like,
it doesn't matter. It's still all of it. I'm as it all combined. Fuck you, but okay.
I I beat Jay in fantasy football this week by
He didn't beat me. He
decent amount.
fucking beat my ass. Like that
Yeah.
This motherfucker had like 4 starting Cowboys. It was over before the thing started.
Yeah, I had this week with the Commanders. I had Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Aubrey, and the defense coming in. I scored 184 points in fantasy this week, and I also had Mark Andrews got injured, so I picked up Pat Frymouth, and then Pat Frymouth goes off. I think he had 120 yards receiving as a tight end, and
Yeah,
yeah.
we're talking.
But anyway, I think Kyren Williams came back from injury and scored like nearly 40 points as well. Like you just bad week to face that team, Jay. Sorry, mate. But people sleep on Pat Frymouth because they don't see him as a receiving threat because they're so used to seeing him block. He's an excellent blocker for the run. He is an excellent all-round tight end, but that's because of the offense he was in, that people don't see him as a receiving threat as a tight end. Now that they've sat Matt Canada, and hopefully it'll be like, obviously I didn't see it coming because I didn't expect the Steelers to use him, but Pat Frymouth is a receiving threat, and hopefully with the new offensive coordinator, they'll continue to use Pat Frymouth in that way as well, because then that frees up George Pickens, because when you have those freaky tight ends that can do,
and they got Johnson, another receiver on the other side that can fucking fly. So
yeah, and as well with Jalen Warren receiving out of the backfield, Najee Harris has seemed to have found that extra step as his
Najee Harris back to only get 99 yards. Like you couldn't get that 100-yard game, Najee. You couldn't fall forward for one more yard.
But he's fulfilling his now Baron run. It's really important to remember they only scored 16 points and they only beat the Bengals by 6 when they were playing Jake Browning. But they covered the spread. It was only meant to be -3 favorites, even though they were playing Jake Browning.
Well, all right. We spend enough time on the Steelers, I think. Let's talk about how them Falcons are the first place team right now in the South.
I should have stuck to my guns last week because I changed halfway through. You convinced me because Desmond. You convinced me to pick the Saints.
To be fair, Ritter had 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter convinced me.
Yeah, so to be fair, everything I said about Desmond Ritter was true, but Bijan Robinson is a fucking monster.
It just proves why haven't they been using him all year? Like that's the thing with me. It's everybody's been telling you to use him all year. Everybody said use him. Use Bijan Robinson. Use Bijan Robinson. Oh, throw the ball to Drake London. Use this freak of a wide receiver you've got.
Think about this. This is what has to be killing Arthur Smith, right? You look at your running backs, and you got Bijan Robinson, Aguilar, Cordell Patterson. You look at your receivers. You got Drake London, or people who can catch the ball. You got Drake London. You got Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan Robinson on the backfield. You got Van Jefferson. And
Scott
your
Miller.
quarterback musters a whole 168 yards.
Yeah, which is incredible because he threw to Drake London for 5 receptions, and Drake London went for 91 yards. Drake London was averaging 18.2 yards a reception. That's like throw the fucking ball to Drake London. I don't get how with this offense you create such a lackluster game style like a lot of the time. I don't get how this offense isn't putting up like at least 24 points a week. Like they should be averaging around 24 points a week. I don't understand. And then the defense is way better than people give it credit for, by the way. So everybody will look at this game and the offense did score 24 points this week, but let's remember there's a pick 6 included in that. Let's just remember that. And I'm starting to think Arthur Smith is the problem. Like I know he doesn't get good quarterback play. I know Desmond Ritter is the quarterback, but I still think Arthur Smith is the problem here.
I like Arthur Smith. I don't know if I love Arthur Smith. I'd like to see him with a fucking halfway decent quarterback and then judge him.
Yeah, I think with the Falcons, they should be in the market for a quarterback coming up. Obviously, if the Vikings do something stupid and Kirk Cousins ends up not being the quarterback next year, which would be crazy, and I don't think it is going to happen, then Atlanta should pay whatever it takes to get Kirk Cousins down there.
They both seem to still love each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'd be one of the teams. I think the Falcons would be one of the teams where Justin Fields would be an interesting
Looking at Josh
fit.
Dobbs, he'll be a free agent.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that Josh Dobbs is a bad fit either. I feel like Justin Fields would be an interesting fit for them for 1 year, just to see, because it's 1 year before Fields gets paid, right? Like they can exercise. You can exercise some
would it
sort of
be his
fifth-year
fourth
option and
year,
then
and then
trade
you
him.
can do his fifth-year option or whatever?
Yeah, so they can. So 1 year before Fields gets paid, you give the Bears what, a third round pick. Maybe they'll charge a second round pick for the Falcons to get Justin Fields. Fifth, you think? Yeah, I think the
I
Bears
don't
will
know.
want
I
more.
don't think you get. I think if they commit to getting somebody else, I don't think it takes a ton. I mean,
Yeah,
to me, Trey Lance is worth more than Justin Fields.
really.
Yeah, because
I think
I know 100% what Justin Fields is now. I still don't know what Trey Lance is because he never got an opportunity. I mean, that fucking kid's got more injuries than, than probably touchdowns in the NFL. But I still don't know what he is. And I would like to see what he is after sitting with Mike Holmgren, because if people forget, Mike Holmgren got Matt Flynn paid. He got Matt Hasselbeck paid. He got what was his name? The kid who went to the Eagles. Somebody will remember. If you ever do, hit it in the comments. He got him paid when he sat. All these people sat behind Favre, and he got him paid as backups, right? Because of how well he coached them up. I'd like to see what Mike McCarthy did with Trey Lance.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see Trey Lance in Atlanta as well. I feel like Atlanta, because of the offense that they've built, have lots of options at quarterback.
Hasselbeck got fucking paid and was great, and Matt Flynn got hugely paid and then got beat out by Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I honestly think
Ty Detmer was the name I could not think of that went to the Eagles. Yeah,
I feel like the offense that the Falcons have created have given them the back to maybe not sign elite quarterbacks. Like, if they can get one, great. But I think they don't need one because of the run defense they've got. I believe in their defense as well. I think their defense is much better than people give it credit for, especially in the secondary. They could do with an edge rusher, and just some people to get some just general pressure. But I think they don't need an elite quarterback. I think a quarterback who has the weapons to run would be good for them. And I think just somebody semi-accurate, to throw the ball. Because when you have freaks like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, it's not necessary to be perfectly accurate every time. So just some form of accuracy, which I guess throws out Justin Fields. But then Justin Fields is so good in the run game that.
And when Van Jefferson's your third to fourth option, you're doing pretty well on skilled players.
When Scotty Miller is your fourth option, your fourth receiving option, I like Scotty Miller. I don't understand.
Me too.
It's Scotty Miller unfortunately, he has the white guy syndrome where people think he's slower than he is because he's white.
That, and he's small, so you need a more accurate quarterback because he doesn't have the range to make up for a bad throw. That's why a guy like Brady was great for him. You know what I mean? Because I'm not comparing the two players as in them, but for Tom Brady in Tampa, Scotty Miller was his Julian Edelman, the smaller, quick guy that he gets the ball out to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, to me, Scotty Miller is Tutu Atwell.
I like that.
Scotty Miller and
like that.
Tutu Atwell. But everybody's buzzing about Tutu Atwell. Everybody says what a crazy deep threat Tutu Atwell is, and I would be interested to see their 40 times. I'd be really interested to run Tutu Atwell and Scotty Miller against each other over 40 yards.
because they're my team and I know the most about them, I bring things back to the Vikings a lot. But him and Brandon Powell remind me a lot of each other.
Yeah, Brandon Powell is electric, man. You guys still need to find more time to get him in the game.
I think they're gonna let KJ Osborne walk after this year and keep him as their third option, is what I think will happen.
Yeah. Scotty Miller ran a 4.36 in the 40. And Tutu Atwell ran a 4.39.
Okay.
So, but people buzz over Tutu Atwell, but Scotty Miller is not good enough, apparently.
Well, Maddie,
Scotty Miller has a touchdown in a Super Bowl.
Yes. And he played great with Brady. But let's talk about some Jags Titans. CJ Stroud is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL as a rookie, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, Jags Texans. I think the thing that I was the most surprised that, like, let's remember that the Texans lost the game. Just to start with, how they lost the game is 2 missed field goals. Now one is a 58-yarder to finish the game, and one's a 50-yarder at the stroke of halftime. So, I'm not gonna crucify Amendola for that, but if they have a better kicker, then they win that game. Is the way that it
now
looks to me.
He's not their starting kicker, though, is he? Isn't their starting kicker hurt?
I think their starting kicker got hurt. Who would have that been? Kyle Fairbairn, I think he kicks for the
yeah. I just want to make sure I wasn't going nuts. Like, I didn't think he was there. Like, so your backup kicker, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I feel like Matt Amendola is their kicker now.
Why in the fuck is Robbie Gould still without a job?
Yeah, Kyle Fairbairn's their kicker. Have they dropped Amendola overnight? He's not on the.
Maybe they cut him after the 2 misses. I don't know, but do you have any idea why Robbie Gould doesn't have a job? That dude can kick from 60.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't want it.
Well, I know he wanted a ton of money from the 49ers, and they didn't give it to him, but it's still weird to me. Like, with all the problems Greg Joseph has had in Minnesota, I don't know why you're not on the phone with Robbie Gould. Like, hey, man, you looking for a 3-year deal? Like,
yeah. And where the hell is Matt? Is Matt Amendola still a Texan? I don't know. I can't see. Anyway. Not that important. But yes, their backup kicker missed 2 field goals and they would have won that game. Once from 58 yards, which he doinks off the crossbar, which is just, that must be horrible. And in that situation, when CJ Stroud is scrambling around in the pocket on 3rd and 12, and he decides to just air the ball out and see what happens downfield where it could have been a turnover, would it have been more beneficial for him to try and run for 5 yards and see where they get to? Probably. Let's remember he's a rookie, though. Like with CJ Stroud, I'm very, very impressed with his escapability. I didn't expect that coming in from watching him in college outside of the Georgia game. I didn't expect this escapability for him, which makes him an even bigger threat. And the accuracy. And I think it's important to give Tank Dell a shout out here as well. Tank Dell is some wide receiver, and Nico Collins as well. And I think the Texans
Nico Ryan needs a shout out.
Yeah. Who's their GM? Do you know the Texans GM?
I don't know.
He's the guy from New England.
Yeah, it's Caserio.
Nick Caserio. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. He's done a good job there. A few more pieces and they're genuine contenders.
Yeah, I like them. Congrats to the Jags for winning that game. It was tough fought divisional game. Trevor Lawrence played well. It was the Texans shutting down that running game that was very impressive. But I still really like Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson together. I really, really like that combination.
Yeah, people are giving Trevor Lawrence a lot of hate, right? Saying that he's not being impressive. But is that fair? Is it because he's not Peyton Manning already? Like, I feel like people forget when we get these guys that come out and say they're going to be generational talents. I feel like people expect them to be the 10-year version of the generational talent when they first come out. They forget that Peyton Manning, did he lead the league in interception and sacks and
And
those
then
kind of
went
things
1
as
and
well.
15 in his first season. And you can take Trevor Lawrence's first season and throw it out the window because he had Mr. Finger Guns fucking Urban Meyer down there who didn't know what the fuck was going on. Right. So in a scheme of learning the NFL game, like Trevor Lawrence is what in his like you throw out that first year, he's not been in the league that long. Give him and Doug Peterson, they're still building that roster too. I really like what they're doing down there.
Yeah, so it's we decide that
he throws for 300 yards all the time.
Yeah, it's just a league of giving people no time. He's 10th in the league in passing yards, which when you take that run game into consideration is actually quite impressive. The average per game, he averages 250 a game. Completion percentage, he is tied for 11th in completion percentage as well. So he's a top 10 quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is also a top 10 quarterback. Let's remember that like the Jags have had drop issues all year. Calvin Ridley finally had a good game, so that could be a turning point for them. Let's not crush Trevor Lawrence. Let's appreciate what the Texans are doing, and let's not like go all fucking crazy on the Texans either. But I'd say CJ Stroud is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL today.
I agree. Without a doubt. I don't even think there's a question.
Even in his rookie year.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question.
Year.
So I want to talk about a game, but I want you and I to like make an agreement. We will save this argument for the middle of our next podcast because they are going to play each other because me and Maddie have a fierce argument going on. We're going to talk some Eagles versus the Bills. Maddie and I's argument is I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. He thinks the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. They play each other this weekend, so we'll have enough time to argue that when we talk about the preview that game. So I try to stick to the Eagles Bills here. We get off track. That's all I was getting at. We can have a 45-minute argument.
Yeah, got you. I think we might need to start the show next week a little early if that's the plan. But
yeah, we might have to because Andy and I can go back and forth on this one like a lot. But
it's because we're arguing different things.
Right. So the Eagles went in, beat the Bills in a tough game, and I was very impressed with the Eagles, and you were not so much impressed with the Eagles. What were your thoughts on the game versus the Bills? Nick Sirianni got you. That's Nick Sirianni because that's Howie. Howie Roseman is a fucking magician, so he got you.
I'm not allowed to talk about the Eagles or the Cowboys. It seems my mic is obviously an avid Eagles fan. That's what's. It's not my mic. It's my mic cable keeps on falling out. My mic cable just screams EAGLE. Yeah, it's not that I wasn't impressed by the Eagles. Let's just get that right. I think it is impressive the grit that they come out and they win these one-score games with. And we had this argument last year a lot about the Vikings, where it was me and you arguing against everybody else, saying, I don't care if they're winning one-score games. They're winning games, and winning those one-score games builds good culture. So I do think the Eagles are an excellent team, top 2 in the NFL, like really, really great team. And I think that Jalen Hurts is a leader, and he has the intangibles that we don't allow Dak to have those intangibles when he plays poorly and has bad stat seasons. I feel about
Can we admit though that the Eagles are 10-1 and still haven't played their best football?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So then that's where I come with that's where then I come in with my thing about the Eagles is everybody's anointing this amazing team, but they're not actually playing games that well. They are playing down to opposition, which is both terrifying and which is both terrifying and good at the
Uh,
same
my
time.
tongue
Because
is gonna
I think,
bleed. My tongue
yeah,
is gonna bleed for biting it.
so I think I think coming into the playoffs, like it's a dangerous thing that they've ended up doing where they're playing down to opposition because we've both said that the Bills are not a good team. And again, they should have lost that game. And I hate dealing in if
Yeah, get him, Nick, get him, get him.
Every fucking time. Is it because my hands get so irate?
I talk about the Eagles and the Cowboys. Is that it? Like, is that
be.
it might be. I hate dealing in if, buts, and maybes. I don't like doing it either. But if I hate doing it because I know you're right when you say like, but it didn't happen, but it didn't happen. If Gabe Davis runs the right route, or if Josh Allen, whoever broke down the communications there, because I feel like Gabe Davis ran the right route, but you're meant to, if you beat a guy that quickly, then you're meant to come in because it's easier for the quarterback on a cover zero and that kind of shit. And they were supposed to connect with each other. If Gabe Davis doesn't do that, the Bills win the game. If
the Tuck rule didn't exist, then maybe Brady's not the greatest of all time. Yeah. And if God gave me 6 more inches, I'm probably doing porn.
But if Valdez Scantley doesn't drop that catch, but the Eagles do very well to get themselves into the position where if other teams make the mistake, they then go and win the game. That's where they're terrifying, and that's why they're one of the top 2 teams in the NFL right now.
All right. Well, I have a lot of like biting my tongue, but we'll save that argument.
What do we think of the Bills after that game? Because we'll talk about the Eagles loads in the next show. We might have to do our own show.
I can give you one guarantee from the Bills. Stephon Diggs is going to be a fucking handful come this offseason.
Yeah, I'm interested. That game was interesting to me because everybody's going fucking crazy saying that the Bills are back, but Josh Allen's back. But everybody's passed on the Steelers secondary. Like, everybody's put up yards against the Steelers. Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders put up 38 points against the Eagles. It's not a crazy thing for Josh Allen, who we think is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, to come out and have a crazy stats against the Eagles. And he did have a good game, but the Bills defense is so injured, they can't handle anyone. And then they're chokers. For example, Gabe Davis isn't on the same page in a time where they should have gone and won the game.
He did go for 105 yards.
Yeah, not when it mattered though. You know what I mean? They also they missed a field goal as well. No, Sean McDermott, and this was absolutely fucking infuriating. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. You have to go 40 yards to get into field goal range. You have 1 timeout, which they should have had 2, but they used 1 to ice the fucking kicker like before, but they should have had 2 timeouts. Does that work? Does icing the kicker work? I'm interested to see the stats.
I think it fails more than it works, but it's the thought it's worth a shot to get in his head. But it's also, I've always had this weird thought. So I've thought about icing your own kicker. Okay. So you got like a 60-yarder, and right as they go to snap it, you call timeout so he gets a warm-up kick on that 60-yarder. Like, I've thought, like, how come teams don't, like, warn your kicker? Like, I'm going to give you a warm-up kick here. So, like, just go out there, kick it, get the distance, get the feel for it. I'm going to call a timeout right before it snapped. You guys snap it and do it. You get a free fucking – I've thought about that. It's odd, but I have. So, no, I don't think you really can ice these professional kickers.
Yeah, so 30 seconds. They could have had 30 seconds with 2 timeouts, but they had 30 seconds with 1 timeout and decided to kneel.
Yeah. That was
like you don't. It's either they don't trust Josh Allen, which is fucking terrifying for them. But against this Eagles secondary, when you have Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, who went for what did you say, 105, 100 and
105,
something
I
yards.
think Gabe Davis had. Yeah.
105 yards. You have Josh Allen, who's meant to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You either don't trust Josh Allen to not turn over the ball and lose you the game, which fair enough reason not to trust him, but
Gabe Davis was averaging 17.5 yards a reception, and Stephon Diggs was averaging 12.5 yards per reception.
Yeah, and you think if you don't trust your quarterback enough to, in 30 seconds with one timeout, to not lose you the game to the point where you have to kneel, especially after Josh Allen, he went off in that game as well. What's Sean McDermott doing? I didn't get that at all. I didn't get that at all.
No, I'm with you. I think there was some bad coaching, but I think it's time that the Eagles really need to, the Bills really need to rethink what they're doing.
Yeah. They're missing the playoffs. Like realistically, they're missing the playoffs this year.
All right, Matty. Well, we'll have that. That was a warm up to where we're gonna go because I really had to bite my tongue because I had 100 things I wanted to just fire back at, but it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been for this game. So it was, I'll hold that. Well, let's talk about Thursday's game where it is your Cowboys at home hosting the Seattle Seahawks, who have not looked great. Cowboys 8.5-point favorites in this game.
I hate that. The Seattle Seahawks, you have to say they don't look great. So I'm interested to know what you think on this. Does this count as a test for the Cowboys? Does this count as the Cowboys' first real test since the 49ers? Or the Eagles, sorry. I forgot we played the Eagles in between.
I don't know. It's the Seahawks. No?
Fucking.
They're with your mic. Cowboys talk again. Can't talk about the Cowboys or the Eagles. I don't know. Like, if the Eagles turn around and beat the fucking 49ers and you guys played the 49ers, like, there's another matchup you can equal it out to. You guys lost to the Eagles. And if you make me a betting man, you're going to lose to the Eagles again, but nobody knows. That's why they play the fucking games. I think you guys should beat up on the fucking Seahawks because I feel like the Cowboys, when they have a bad team, they just put them away. And I don't think the Seahawks are a bad team, but they're an average team.
I just think, where does it become the point where the Cowboys can call it a test outside of playing the top 2 teams in the NFL?
Well, it's not your guys. It's not the Cowboys' fault what their schedule is either, right? They're doing absolutely what they should do. They get a bad team and they just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I just think it's just always an interesting argument to have with people where when can we call it the Cowboys having a test because they smash all the teams that are worse than them. So there's only 2 teams in the NFL that are better than them. I think
they'll slap the shit out of the Lions, but I would call that a test when you play them.
Yeah, so it would be the Lions is the first time they get the Dolphins.
I don't know what the rest of your schedule is, but you play the Lions week 17.
Yeah, we go Seahawks, Eagles obviously is a test, but against top 1 or 2 team in the NFL. Bills, which like probably doesn't count as a test anymore. Dolphins, does the Dolphins count as a test?
Yes, and the Bills are a test for your defense. And the Bills do get a lot of turnovers, so it's a test for your offense too, on the fact that I would say the Bills are, because the Bills are not playing the way they should, but they are good enough to beat any team.
Yeah, it's just...
Oh, fuck, that is hilarious. He lost his mic again. You can't, man. Jerry Jones and Nick Sirianni are ganging up on you now.
The audio is going to be a tiny bit worse for this last 10 minutes of the show. because my Eagles supported microphone. I wasn't able to talk about the Giants last week either. Like I'm not allowed to talk about the NFC East at all.
It's banned in the UK.
Yeah, I'll get the microphone cable fixed for our next show, hopefully.
Buy a Cowboys one.
Yeah, buy a Cowboys. I'll fly it out from Texas. But the yeah, it's just interesting how the Cowboys only test the top 2 teams in the NFL, but when there's other so far is what people have been saying, and it's like, oh well, if the Cowboys can't beat the Eagles and they can't beat the Seahawks, it's like, well, fucking fair enough. It's a fair point to make, but we can't keep on saying that the Cowboys are not this contender if the only 2 teams where we can count that they're against is the Eagles.
They're a top 5 team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just you watch these shows and it's like the Cowboys aren't a contender. They only beat up on bad teams, and it's like, or do they make these teams look bad? Like, is that not what it is? Like, the Chargers just went really close with the Ravens, like, but they were a bad team when we beat up on them. The Commanders have nearly beat the Eagles twice, but we walked them like by 45 points. The Jets have beat the Bills, and it's like, we've smashed the Jets after they like the week after they beat the Bills, or they're not very good. The Giants like have beaten a few teams. I'm not saying the Giants are a good team,
No,
but it's
but
like the Cowboys make them look awful.
The rest of your schedule will tell you, because you do have some games coming up that I think then the Cowboys can lean back and look back on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not the Cowboys' fault what their schedule is either.
Yeah, and they've put away the schedule. I feel like the Rams was a fair test. I feel like the Rams are actually a pretty decent team, and obviously we beat them like 43 to 20. But yeah, going into this game, I do think the Seahawks are dangerous. I think they always will be dangerous with Pete Carroll as their head coach. I think that Witherspoon and Tyreek Woolen are still 2 of the top young corners in the NFL. Geno Smith is their biggest problem, because when you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, you should be passing for at least 300 yards a game in my mind.
Yeah, Geno. Geno is Geno. We already know what Geno is. The Cowboys are good all over, and I'm gonna say they cover the 8.5 points against the Seahawks.
That's just a silly spread. 8.5 is so much. Give me the Seahawks plus 8.5. I don't think we'll. I think this is a test, because the Seahawks running backs are a problem, and when you run against this Cowboys team, it does nullify the pass rush quite quickly, because you take Micah Parsons out of the equation if you run the game. It's not like Micah Parsons is terrible against the run. It's just it seems he then struggles to pressure the quarterback when it's time to pressure the quarterback after defending the run for the entire game, and they just run it away from Micah. They basically look where Micah Parsons is, and they just run it away from him. So I think it's going to be maybe quite a low-scoring game for the Cowboys. Do you have the over-under there? But
I think it was 47, but let me look. 47.5.
I'd take the under on 47.5. I think they'll keep it close. I think Witherspoon and Tyreek Woolen are able to keep CeeDee Lamb in check as well.
All right. Well, there you have it. There is our Thursday night football pregame show, brought to you on Wednesday, because you guys seem to like it better and we get more views. So, and Maddie's not having to do a podcast at crazy fucking hours.
It means I can do it at 9 a.m. How nice is that?
Yeah. So, well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Go over and check out Well Beyond the Arc. David and Manoli are killing it. I can't speak. And go check out the last episode. We had Street Beef's OG King Madness on. So that's already on there. Go watch it. And then you had the West Coast OG Bricks on the same show. We had 2 Street Beef legends on the same show. So make sure you go check that episode out. It was great. And we'll see you guys on Sunday. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.